Why are you walking down Main Street with no damn clothes on?
Sir, you say that like it's a bad thing. The Lord made these clothes I wear.
All right, enough of this. Turn around, put your hands behind your back. Stop resisting, or you catch another charge.
Tag, officer, you're it. Tag, Marco Polo.
Oh, you're going to the ground. Do you want to get tased?
Oh, I bet I blow a 666 again, officer.
Nope, not this time. You got a 667. That's a 666 with my extra long thumb checking your oil.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to the live. I was just laughing, laughing at my own stupidity there with that last intro. I'm having way too much fun doing those, but they are a lot of fun to do. I miss doing stupid stuff like that with the podcast because we used to do lots of dumb little bits together like that with the three of us. Got pretty crazy. And I'm going to talk about getting kind of crazy with the three of us. Give away one of our CDs. We Oh, thank you, Donna. Glad you liked the new intro. Uh, we've got some CDs. We did this project. What was before I was sick. Hey, mom. And it was right before I got sick with the necrotizing fasciitis last year, and we we were we do fake commercials on the podcast, and we take goofy stuff and make like that they're advertising for the podcast, and we do things in dark humor like you would expect from me, a little more harsh on the podcast than I do for here. But on the podcast, things are a little rougher with the language and the humor. But we did commercials for like John Wayne Gacy, babysitting, and Ted Bundy escort service and stuff like that. And it was meant to be just a goof. And we have a lot of fun with those. And in Umbria, nice, very nice. I'm sure it's beautiful. Welcome, Shell. Usually over there in the UK, but she's over there in Umbria, where that sounds very, very exotic. Very exotic. It is a Twilight Zone shirt, Donna. I just got this one added to the collection. I love the Twilight Zone, but yeah, we like to do the fake commercials and have some fun. So we decided, why not take all the fake commercials we had ever done and make a comedy album out of it, because it's ridiculously funny. And so I don't have one of them with me because I just mailing one off to somebody that won it. I've got only a handful, like three or four of them, and they've got, I think, 45 or 55. It might be 55 of them on there. It's probably an hour and a half long, but just nothing but those. And then we got funny outtakes. Got a couple of funny outtakes that are just hilarious to hear us mess up and stuff. And because we do like accents, and we try to really stretch it. And so those are a lot of fun. But I'm going to give one of those away. I also have them digitally. And that's on the website too. So if you're interested, but you don't do CDs, because I get it, we only had a handful done for that reason, because not everybody does them. But we did all sign this thing too. But the only problem is the first guy that signed it si- signed it on the back, but on the cellophane. I don't know why he just didn't unwrap it. I think he thought people would think it wasn't new, but because he had them all wrapped. But anyway, there's the three of our signatures on the back. I guess you could cut the cellophane off and keep it inside or just toss it or whatever. But they are it is signed too. If buy it digitally, the tracks are all there, and you'd have them digitally. Then you could listen to it on a phone or whatever. So let me know. I'm going to go to that later when I give it away. I'm going to go to the website and show you how you can get one on your own if you want to just do that. But like I said, CD wise, there's only a couple left. I only got, I think, 4 or 5 of them. So, well, what a crazy week it's been in true crime. A lot of stuff going on. I mean, wow. With all the Koberger stuff and more from Gilgo Beach and Rex Heuermann and bodies being found and Travis Decker case still happening and just a lot of things all going on at one time. And then of course we found out this past week that the judge is going to allow the gag order to be lifted, but kind of, it's one of those with the asterisk after it, you go look at the asterisk and you're like, okay, so this is going to drag on for a long time. I'm really ready to move on from this one. At least put it on the burner for a bit. Maybe it's just been nonstop Idaho 4 on this channel, and I'm trying to do other stuff, but it just the crowd wants Idaho 4, and we just can't do Idaho 4 forever. And I have started doing the Long Island serial killer, also known as Gilgo Beach murders. He's got a few names because there's a lot going on with that guy. I mean, holy crap! There's a lot of good stuff out there on him to talk about, but I don't want to do that if we're here for Idaho 4. I did just a live on the Gilgo Beach Long Island serial killer on Thursday with Lee from Devil's Advocates, which was excellent. It was a small group. I expected it because it just was on that. We didn't do any Idaho 4, although it came out on the day that the dissemination order was lifted. So it was like, oh my gosh, what a night to pick to do this, but we did it anyway. But so yeah, Isles of Shoals brings up a good point. Hippler's not gonna, they're not gonna release a whole lot. My bet is it's going to be highly redacted. He's already mentioned redacted like 50 times, so I think that we're going to get a limited view of what they got. Chanel says hello. Hello, Chanel. And BB, just looking at some of the new people that have come on here. Satire, Donna Lembo, of course. So good to see familiar faces here. So always nice to see you guys on here. But I agree with Isles of Shoals that there's, not going to be a whole lot to see. A lot of it will be redacted. I bet the really good stuff won't even be there at all. I mean, it would be so nice, wouldn't it, to just wrap that case up in a bow? And there'd be all kinds of interesting things like, that's why, like some crazy weird coincidence in this case. That's why, she shut the door or whatever. It would explain so many things, unless the thing was of complete BS. I would love to know. What do you guys think? Do you guys think that there's something much bigger going on? This was just kind of a thorn in their side in the middle of an investigation, and they were trying to put this thing to bed, and it just kind of grew legs, and they didn't think it was going to get to what it was. But I just wonder if you guys think that this was like completely made up by somebody like me, but not as good as I am, because I would have come up with a better story. I can tell you that much right now. But that aside, somebody to come up with a story to make this thing all kind of fit together, goofy, so we would be chasing these shiny objects down the rabbit holes. I would love to know what you guys what you guys think. Donna says she agrees with what I was saying. So it sure seems like that. It really does. I just don't understand at the level that this was at why they couldn't, if they were going to do something like that, why they wouldn't have done it to make more sense. Because, I mean, if it would have made more sense, we wouldn't even be here talking about this, right? I mean, if it was a story about some guy that came in from Pennsylvania and he had something wrong with him and he gets this job and he saw one of these girls somewhere and followed her home and then he knew where she lived and, started creeping on her, that sounds legitimate, But then when you pluck him out of the pack, then it doesn't make any sense anymore. And it's like you get one step and you go back two with this Idaho 4 case. I think it's just really hard to get your arms around it. Like I was saying in a recent video, I mean, it's almost like if it was done on purpose and this was all a BS story, that makes less sense than if they would have just, done it and let happen what happened. But you start trying to put band-aids on stuff and then hiding things from people, then all that happens is people get more curious. They want to see what's actually going on. So, Voice of Astrology, she agrees totally. That's very cool. Another great supporter of the channel. Good to see her always here doing her astrology thing. Donna Lembo. Yeah. I mean, Green definitely worried about the college. I would say, I mean, I've been off that road for a little bit, but that's not saying I don't think it's not true. I just haven't been talking about it. But the college is huge because when you're in a college town, I was just reaching for my glasses. You guys just saw that. They're not there. um, I did get a final eye exam from my eye doctor after the surgery, the cataracts. And she agrees with me that I could hunt small animals in my backyard now with my eyesight being so good. But problem is they'd hear the wheelchair and I wouldn't be very good at it. But until the prosthetic is figured out, I guess I'll be like this. But no, they said that my vision is really good. Everything is good to go. My vision's 20/30, so it came a long way from where it was. And so it's nice to be able to see good again. And yeah, like doing this, I could see the chat really clearly. Halls, I think that says Halls. Yeah, Halls says, "Hey Pete." Some letters are a little, with the lights on in this room, it really deflects off the screen and it makes it a little harder to see. But yeah, so that the eyes are good to go. I'm excited about that, and I've got an appointment next week, I think it is, or the week after next, to the amputation clinic to get that ball rolling because the place I went before is not the way I'm supposed to go with using the VA for all this. So I'm going to go to the VA, and they're the best at prosthetics. I mean, that's their game. So I'm going to be in good hands there, but we have to go to their hospital, and it's like an hour and a half away. But that's only for the first time, and the rest I could do here. So that should work out. But I'm anxious to get up on 2 feet. That's for sure. It'll be weird again walking around after being in a chair for a while. But good to see everybody here. I'd like to have a fun live. I had a few things, I usually do keep a few things on the burner to get into, but with the crowd like you guys are throwing out ideas and things you want to talk about too. And so that, that's how I like to do it. It's just nice and just chill. All right. Oh, here, Satire says, Pete, thank you for your service. I didn't know you were a veteran. Bless you. Well, thank you very much. Yeah, I served from, I joined the Army when Desert Storm was going on. It was June of that year of 90. Yeah, June of 90. And then I signed up as a cavalry scout, which is like, think of the cavalry with the horses, but now with tanks and helicopters. It's badass. If you ever seen the movie We Were Soldiers, that was shot, or that movie is about the book We Were Soldiers Once and Young, and that book is about the 1-7 Cavalry, which is what I was in. So we were in the same unit as those guys. Those guys were in the same unit as Custer, Little Bighorn. So I was in Custer's old unit, but a very historic unit, and they were over there in Desert Storm while I was in basic training and then in my individual training as a scout. By the time I got done with all of my schooling and training, the war was over, and they were sending people home. So, so I got, I was there at the base at Fort Hood, Texas, getting things ready for the guys when they got back, and then when they got back, we had a bunch of stuff to clean, wash rack with kicking the sand off all the vehicles. It was miserable, but we did that, and then I was lucky I didn't have to go anywhere hostile, and got hurt on base while I was active duty. So it was a service connected disability. So that's how I got out. And I got out in '94. So I did 3 of the 4 years, uh, but but yeah, and I went back to what I was doing before, which was what I ended up doing for 30 years, which was doing training for people to work with hazardous materials, things like asbestos and lead and mold and that sort of stuff, some safety too. And I did that for a long time. I trained mostly maintenance guys, custodians, and all the trades, electricians and carpenters and whoever, and went and did it for big groups of people. I think the most I ever trained at once was like 250 people at one time. A lot of my stuff in the latter years was done on Zoom as I started having problems with my feet. I couldn't do the out of office stuff easily anymore. Just kind of got worse and worse. And then I was on semi retirement when the necrotizing fasciitis came. So I was just teaching a couple classes a month. And then that happened, and that completely took me off my plan. So that's how that all came about. But yeah, the Army was an interesting time. I wrote my first novel when I was in the Army, and then after I got out, I wrote another couple of them until I actually published one of them. So it's a lot of work, and doing this nonfiction novel is a different game altogether. The one I'm doing right now about what happened this last year, and so it's called At Death's Door. And my buddy's working on a painting for the cover right now. It looks amazing, and he did a 3D clay, well, it's not clay, it's like hard plastic, but he did this 3D model of the cover. I mean, it's wicked. It was cool to be able to see it like that. And he's a very talented guy. But you've heard him. You heard him on that commercial. He's the officer, my friend Mike. Yeah, he comes over to. He gave me a ride the other day to the eye appointment, and I said, "Hey, you want to do one of those funny intros with me?" And he can't resist, so he's like, "Yeah, all right, I'll do it." So he came in and we did that together. That was really funny. So I like doing those, and I've already had offers. Lee from Devil's Advocates wants to get in on one, so I'm going to do one with him, which would be really funny. Definitely mess with him a little bit. So anyway, yeah, that. Oh, I see somebody here. It wasn't, as long as it wasn't in this 82nd. Yeah, for sure. Those Brett Payne and Brent Kopacka, both from the 82nd Airborne, but they served at slightly different times, but in the same unit. But like I've told people before, the fact that those two were both in the 82nd Airborne is like saying they both worked for. I was going to say Walmart, but that's definitely like all the Walmarts in a state. Let's just say that if you were to say the 82nd Airborne, would be like working for all the Walmarts in one of the states, maybe not Texas, but or California, but one of the mid-sized states. You'd be working for a pretty big company, so they could be in areas you wouldn't know. Now, I know Kopacka was in some sort of specialized unit, and then I heard Payne was in it too, and now that's a different story, and that would be a strange, very strange coincidence. Almost too strange of a coincidence. You know what I'm saying? And that's the thing with this case. I've got a theory simmering that I'm not quite ready to unleash yet, but they the theory is, I'm hoping the last one I'm going to do about this, because like I said, I am getting a little burnout on Idaho 4. But the theory I'm working on has to do with the small group, to where possibly I was trying to come up with a way that Brian Koberger could have been involved with this and made it believable to me as a person that's been following this case for a solid year plus. Oh, thanks all you guys for talking about my service. I appreciate that. Like I said, my service was short, and it was during wartime, because the Desert Storm War was technically on for past when I even got out. So that that war was, whoever serves during the era, whether you're over there or not, gets the ribbon, gets the Desert Storm ribbon that everybody got. But I wasn't there. I'm glad I wasn't there. I'm not complaining, and I'm not trying to say anything about it other than I wasn't there. I don't want people to get the impression I'm like an Audie Murphy and I storm the beaches of Normandy and that kind of thing, because I know there's some people watching that may be Vietnam vets, and I have nothing but the utmost respect for those guys. Wow. I've done a lot of private study about the Vietnam War, and what a horror show those guys went through, and for nothing, and for getting home and getting spit on and everything else. That's just absolutely horrible. But anyway, I don't want to get into that too much. I don't want to scare everybody away. I think now I'm talking about Army stories. But yeah, so we're gonna talk about the latest with the Idaho 4, and we could go into some areas that you guys are interested in. I am interested in coming up with, like I said, kind of like a final theory, but more, if you were to believe that Brian Koberger had some involvement, what would be a way that I could see it? Because I'm definitely not seeing it. I don't care how different people did time tests and this and that. I am not seeing a guy doing that himself unless he's some sort of highly trained. And Kopacka wasn't this either. I'm talking some badass, like some Delta Force guy that does that for a living, could have gone in there and done that. But short of that, I'm not buying it. I'm just not buying it. You'd get tired too quick. I mean, people, was never a boxer or did anything like that, but I know I've talked to them, and they say you can't believe how tired you get, how quickly you get tired. I mean, that's why those those boxers, those guys run and run and run, and that's for getting their endurance to be able to do that. I mean, that is just very physical. So to be swinging, whether it was a knife or a machete or a hatchet or whatever the hell he was using, because I don't think it was that damn K-bar. I mean, maybe some of it, but by no means all of it. No way. I won't buy it. It would be a stupid weapon for that if you're going to do something like that. You get a smaller, lighter weight knife that you could use quick. You're making quick movements. People in the dark, they're not seeing anything. That's why I've thrown around this is the idea of them killing the lights. I've talked about this, and that sixth room in the basement was where the circuit breaker was. I did that when I did building inspections. I told you about when I did training. Well, I did that about half the time, and I did building inspections the other half the time. But one of the first things you're going to do on a building inspection before demolition is see where's the power coming into this building. We got to isolate that down, get that shut off, get somebody in here to disconnect and all that kind of thing. So I looked at that when I looked at the blueprints of the house and saw right away that that's where it was coming in. So why not go in there and just kill the lights? And now you've got a house full of people that can't see a damn thing. And they'd be wandering around, even if, oh, thanks for I'm seeing a comment about the shirt. It's the one I like because it's got the swirls on it. I bought this. I was on Facebook, and you know how Facebook is. It shows you what you want to see, and it showed this to me, and I'm like, okay. But I've gotten burned so many times from shirts I've bought from companies off of Facebook because oftentimes they're from overseas, and the sizes don't match up. I mean, I got a big shirt, and I got a shirt I could have wore in middle school, and I'm like, seriously with this, come on. So I'm always leery about it, but I went out on a limb, and this is a really well fitting shirt. I'm just still going to hold my judgment until I see how it goes in the laundry. We'll see, but I'm very picky about my shirts. I like the old school shirts, the heavier shirts. I know nowadays they're all the lightweight stuff, and if it fits me okay, I'm fine with it. But if it's tight, then I can't stand them. So I like the old school shirts myself. But so yeah, that's kind of what's on tap today. Talking some Idaho 4. So anything that you guys wanted to talk about in regard to that they're going to release this gag order. I mean, what do we think? We had some early discussion on that, saying that it was going to be a limited view, a lot of stuff redacted. Anybody differ from that opinion? Anybody want to say anything different about that? Let's see here. I'm going to go and see if I can give away some Murder Metal Mayhem uh, memberships here. I have to go on this in a different place through the site. Okay, that's going to confuse me. Let's see. I want to see if they've given me more memberships to give away. So hang on. Okay, so I'm out of freebies. So no freebies on that one today. Unfortunately, I wanted to do that for you. but they only give us so many free ones to give out, and then I've got to buy them just straight up. And I don't mind doing that, but yeah, there's very little coming in here, so can't be doing too much of that. But I do appreciate those of you that donate and do different things like that to help out. It's always nice. So yeah, we got this dissemination order lifted. I'm anxious to see some stuff. Um, it'd be interesting. I know that you know the person saying that he was gagged or she was gagged. I'm seeing this in the chat here real quick. Um, I saw the interview that Steve G did with Ashley Banfield. So, and I know that's where I believe that was from. And he was talking about, like some sort of marks on her face there. I always thought gagging made sense to me. Again, though, but I never thought that this was one person. To me, I wouldn't do this with less than three. I would preferably like five. A lookout on each side of the house. Um, a lookout inside the house in case somebody came in while it's going on to deal with that. And then two people or one, but preferably two in one of those rooms. And that's the other thing. If you've got people that aren't used to doing this, you're going to have somebody wind up hitting somebody that, those were small rooms. So that's why I'm thinking these would be people that knew what they were doing, but not knew what they were doing like the Delta Force guy, but like these could be like mid level thugs working in some sort of criminal enterprise that do this kind of wet work is what they call it. Um, I think that seems more realistic, and you could have had like one of them with like someone else. And I'm not going to get too crazy with the names, but all these people we've been talking about, right? For all this time, all these potentials I mean, Jack Decor being the ex is always going to be the number one suspect to most people. But if you had one of these people with a Jack, Decor, you know, um, doing that, then I could see that being a pretty quick job because Jack was a tremendous athlete, so he would have had the endurance or pretty close to it. And so, that's what I'm talking about is a couple of people with some experience and maybe a couple of people that didn't could probably pull it off with a lookout outside and one inside and been pretty quick with it too. I mean, it gives them not much time, but I think they were done earlier in the night. So I'm mine, a little bit different. But getting back to the gag part of it, what I also thought was a legitimate thing would be, gotta have some coffee here today. Um, the getting everybody together in say that living room. I've often wondered if that could have been a scenario where they were, you know, brought into the living room and like execution style, and not like we've been told, because there's nothing to back up what we've been told. Nothing. And this gag and this ridiculous ending to the story of him just saying he did it, and then we're supposed to just be like, "Oh, okay, well, that was interesting. Thanks." That's like watching a DUI stop for drunk driving, and they don't tell you what they blew at the police station on the alcohol, machine, or what happened to him in court. It's like I watched this whole thing, and I don't know what happened. It's the same thing, except this is a lot longer of a time. But no ending, like a Stephen King kind of stupid ending. love Stephen King, but man, some of his endings were bad, but some of them were good, but some of them were really bad. But anyway, that's one of the things I've debated is that they were gagged. You know, the fact that they just pushed down on her mouth versus gagged, yeah, I guess that's possible. That's why we need autopsy reports. That's the thing. This case is just so annoying because all those things we're used to seeing and hearing and watching, we don't have any of that. And then even at the end, we were kind of promised with the stick and carrot, right? That we were going to get, there's going to be a trial and we're going to show you all this evidence we have and all these people that were guilt are sitting here going on and on and on about, all this evidence that was supposed to be had and they didn't have a damn thing. Everything we knew is all they had. And what they had was weak at best. It's so frustrating that he decided to just plead guilty and be done with it because I thought, had a very good chance of beating that, especially if they didn't have anything else. So, and then you knew how bad it was. You know how bad it was when your 11th hour surprise, right? Just like in politics, the October surprise right before November. The 11th hour surprise is a woman with a very pronounced crack addiction. I don't know what the hell meth or whatever she was doing or had been doing, because I know that was from a year before, but come on now. That's the best you got? A door dasher with an obvious addiction to some sort of narcotic is the best you got, who was a blubbering mess in that DUI stop, going on and on about it. And then, she apparently also couldn't see very well. I had somebody point that out to me in a video or in an email about something about one spot where she talks about it, or there's some issue about her eyesight. So you got somebody with bad eyes with a drug addiction is going to be your star witness there in the 11th hour. That's pretty bad. So if that was the best they had as a Hail Mary, that shows you how weak, truly weak that case was. I honestly think that you could have put together 2 or 3 of the YouTube creators of your choice that really followed this case really well, like Lana or Jules. They could have won in this case. They could have won this case. That's how ridiculous I feel how ridiculous the evidence was against him. Every bit of it was weak. Every bit of it was weak. There was no slam dunk. There was no, you know, uh, murder weapon found. There was none of this stuff. None of the things that no DNA other than the speck. And we talked about that, and it was funny because in the Gilgo Beach crimes, at the Long Island serial killer, there's an issue with his wife's hair was found at the crime scene on one of the victims, or a few of the victims, I think. Her hair was found there. So then they're wondering, well, then he must have done this at home and then dumped the body, later, which is what they think he did. So if he did it at home, then that's where the hair could have come from, right? Or they think it could have been on the duct tape because he used duct tape that he grabbed the roll from home and brought it to him with him to the scene. So now that's how her hair could have got there. And I'm sitting here listening to somebody talk about this in a live, and I'm like, you know what? I mean, like, this sounds like Idaho 4. transferable evidence. I mean, that's how it's like the definition of it, but literally on a roll of tape. You know how sticky those, you get all kinds of stuff on the backside of that. And that's in your junk drawer in your house. And you grab it, you go out and you do this horrible crime, and then you use that tape. And then you got hair from everybody that lives in that house except me, you know? So that's, to me, I mean, to say that that's your crown jewel of evidence in this case is ridiculous, because it's not worth its salt. You know, it's just not. See, look at here in the chat to see if anybody has thrown anything at me that I didn't catch. Oh, here I see one. Satire wants to know, what did I think about his artistic daughter? Very interesting. I'm actually going to be doing a video on that probably next week. I did a live, and we talked about it quite a bit on the live. Actually showed a lot of her artwork. Yeah, if you're interested in the Gilgo Beach or the Long Island serial killer, the suspect, Rex Heuermann, his daughter, Victoria Heuermann, she's very, very out there. Some of her artwork is kind of like what I might see like on a death metal album cover. So I'm down with it, you know. I don't think that just because somebody paints a picture that looks like it could be a death metal album cover means that they're terrible people, because I've been dealing with those people most of my life, whether it be bands or you know, promoters or artists or whatever, and they're just like anybody else. You know, yeah, there's some shitheads, and then there's some really good people, and so I don't think anything of it. Now, there was some stuff she did that was pretty over the top beyond that, and coinciding with his crimes potentially. Little clues from his crimes entering into some artwork. Now that's definitely weird. The child of somebody that's a suspect as a serial killer, painting stuff like that. She's like 27, so it's not like she's 13 trying to be a, you know, a rebel. She's an adult. She is an adult, and she's painting this stuff, and she's, you know, it's just, it's out there, and I don't know if she's trying to be out there or if it's legit out there, but there's definitely some parts about it and some writings that she's made about some things that would definitely make you go, huh. So interesting stuff. But again, I know it's Gilgo Beach, and I don't want to scare away Idaho 4 people. But yeah, I think that I do think that there are some scenarios that I could see Brian Koberger could potentially being a part of, but he just looked too frail, especially in that video, or that still of him, the picture he took, the selfie the day after the crimes. He did look pretty sickly in that picture. Did not look like the robust, you know, person that I've seen in court here. Like, that's what I saw. Somebody was talking about this, like the tan. I mean, like, what is he doing on, you know, like on the rec yard? Is he getting all tanned up and everything? Like, I don't know. I didn't think he was getting to see too much of sunlight, but apparently he is, or he's figured out a way to suntan in his cell. I mean, it's he looked good. I mean, he looked healthy here when we saw him these last couple times, but that picture of him right before, or right, you know, the day after the crimes was, to me, it looked kind of creepy, and he just didn't look well. So, you know, some people, though, you know, that you could photograph them and they look different each time. You know, they get something about them. So maybe he's one of those people. You know, I don't know. Yeah, here's a good one. Voice of Astrology says, "Can you see Brian trying to take down Ethan?" Yeah, there's no way. There's no way. Ethan was 6'4". 6'4". I heard that something I was watching the other day. 6'4". I thought he was like 6'4", and somebody corrected me somewhere and said he was only 6'2", but no, 6'4". So yeah, and he was pretty muscular too. I mean, he was no beanpole. Where Koberger was like really light, he was very thin. And I'm not seeing him, messing with Ethan, especially if you go off of what they're claiming, which is that the Maddie and Kaylee were hit first, and then he came downstairs and met up with Xana and Ethan. That is definitely a tall order after having just done that in the room with the two girls. And we know what happened with Kaylee. I mean, she was beaten, so many times and nose broken. Awful. I mean, absolutely awful. And if you're thinking of those wounds, it could have been somebody, holding her back I mean, just absolutely vicious. Um, you'd also think somebody that had her like that would also have wounds on their hands. And if they had gloves on, they still could be bruised. Of course, that's long gone, but I just wish they would have done a more thorough investigation of this crime when it happened instead of all this trying to recreate it, like taking the house down and then thinking, how are we going to recreate the sounds? Well, no shit. What did you think you were going to do? They were all in a big rush to get that house down because they wanted that evidence buried. There's something in that house that was going to tell the true story. They wouldn't have been so adamant about getting that house down. I mean, Dan Esty gave the house to the university, so that's suspect as all hell. That guy's got a whole interesting past. Been told that if you even mention him on here, you get your videos taken down. So that guy's got all kinds of pull and money and everything else. I mean, this story is just nothing but, what side of the tracks you were on, and unfortunately everybody in this story is all on the same side of the tracks, but the one guy, the one poor bastard that's not, that came from modest means, he's the one getting railroaded here, and he's got nothing. I mean, there's nobody backing him. If he had some high dollar attorney come in there, they would have mopped the floor with Bill Thompson. I mean, seriously. And there was no way in hell that area was going to allow a visiting attorney to come in and make them look like a bunch of local yokels. And that's exactly what he would have done. It's exactly what he would have done. So here's Just a Girl. She had recently had some input on the message boards and or emailed me some information on the Gilgo Beach stuff. So what's up, Just a Girl? She says Dylan is definitely suspicious. Yeah, I mean, everybody that hears about this case the first time, that's always the first person that draws your side eye is, how many hours did you wait to call 911? I mean, that is just nuts. I mean, I couldn't imagine knowing that there's 4 corpses in my house and just like chilling out on, Instagram and Facebook and whatever else she was doing on Indeed. I've heard a couple of commercials for Indeed lately, and it makes me laugh. Like, had I heard them before and just didn't notice, or now all of a sudden they're trying to capitalize on Dylan's plug? Maybe she was like endorsed by him, like a little free plug. I'm not sure, but that was strange. I know I've had a few people get a kick out of some of the sponsorships I have of my videos now. With this video is brought to you by, and then I had the Waterboards or Us or something like that for the frat boys, and some different things like that. So again, just trying to have a little fun, but Dylan is definitely suspicious. Dylan and Bethany both. So I think that there's an awful lot those two could tell us that would explain how this all went down. And that's what's so frustrating is the legal system is set up to to make that a difficult thing to do, where it would be nice to get the two people that survived, or I hate saying that survived because they didn't survive anything. The two people that were not involved should be forced to come forward and spill the beans on what the hell happened, because all this money is being wasted. I mean, think about it. I mean, even Ann Taylor for the defense, she's a she's being paid for by tax dollars. You know, so you got Bill Thompson on the state side, obviously using tax money. Got Ann Taylor and her defense. When people don't have money, you're afforded an attorney, but I mean, people got to pay for that. That doesn't mean it's free to everybody. It means that the tax dollars coming into that county got to now be covering this. Instead of maybe putting in some new flowers on the village square, or whatever. Sometimes people don't understand that. I know younger people sometimes don't get it. The older you are, you start paying taxes, you start getting a little more observant of what the hell's going on here, and wondering where's your money going. Oh, that's what I'd be wondering if I was in that county. I mean, what the hell's going on here? We're business ridiculous thing. I mean, like for example, in my opinion, and I get why they do it, but I still think it's stupid, is if you're a prosecutor and you've got this filing system with all your stuff in it and everything's all accounted for, and now the defense requires you to give them what you've got as well. Why don't you just give them what you've got? Why do you have to take what you got and put it through a paper shredder and then sweep it up and put it into a big trash bag and say, here you go. Good luck. I mean, that's ridiculous. It shouldn't even be allowed, especially in cases where the defense is not a private attorney. If you're using a public defender, they should be able to share that to save the taxpayers in that county hours upon hours upon hours of legal fees for people having to go through all this crap. And then you don't even know if you got it all because it was so unorganized. And I think that should be mandatory when you're talking about a case like this, where both sides are being paid for by the same honeypot. And it would be a lot less time, it would be a lot more efficient, and you could move through some of these damn cases. They complain there's a backlog. Well, what do you think when you're playing nonsense games like this? It's asinine. And then if somebody's found guilty and it's a DP case, then let's look at any possible appeals. Let's get that tracked through and done so that these people aren't on death row for 30 years. I mean, that's ridiculous. You shouldn't be there for more than 5 years. I mean, any more than that, it's just absurd. It's absurd. So, there's Chikatilo, the Russian serial killer. I mean, he was found, I think, 70 or 80 victims. And once he was found guilty, they took him out to the courtyard and put a 22 in his head. And that's the end of the case. Over with. Am I saying we should go to that? No. I'm just saying that's a lot more efficient, the cost of a 22 shell, than months and months and months of trying to go through a bag of just garbled up mess to figure out what the hell the evidence is against your client. Let's see what else here. Get some people on the chat here. Yeah, Hunter with the knife. Yeah, that's a very interesting part of this. I don't know if all you guys got to see the different specials. There was the one on Amazon Prime, the one that came out was that One Night in Idaho. I thought that was pretty decent. I, I what I liked about it was it showed a lot of the pictures of the things I've never seen before, so I like that. Um, Obviously it's a kind of a mainstream media like look, but there was a little bit of the opposition, at least a little bit of it, to at least give you a taste of it. So I thought it was okay. I'm not a James Patterson person, so the fact that his name was even associated with it made me almost not want to watch it. I'm just not a fan of his writing as of late. I liked him when he first started, or at least the stuff I read when he started. Um, but then it got kind of boring to me, and he kept just trying to recreate the same magic he had, and he just wasn't doing it. And then that's when he started writing books with other people, and he was claiming it was giving somebody a fair, new start, for a break, or new writers. So that sounds good, but you wondered how much of that was really true, or was it really just other people writing books for him, and he maybe read them and made little corrections and stuff, but for the most part was written by somebody else. And I think that's the case with this one too, probably. I don't know. I'm just not a fan. But Hunter looked terrible in this one. I thought he looked rough. Looked like he's just really skinny. I mean, I seem to remember in those body cam videos, he looked a little more, almost not chubby, but he had a little bit of weight to him. But in that docu series, he looks like he's withering away to nothing. So I'm not sure what's up with that guy, and if he's having troubles, with sleeping and things because of what he saw. And some people suspect what he did. I mean, why did he go in there with a knife? I mean, if he had been at that house for hours before that, which is what I believe, what would you go in there with a knife for? I mean, there's no reason to go in there with a knife unless you're walking into a house where you've been told we saw a guy in here walking around with a ninja costume. Then okay, I got you. Go grab a knife out of the kitchen. You might need it. But if somebody told me that was 8 hours ago that the ninja guy was running around, then I wouldn't be as worried. Still might grab the knife, but be pretty much chilling because that guy should be long gone. But I think there's definitely some should have been some better looks at what really was going on there. It just seems like something's off. Something's off, like all things with this case. But Hunter with the knife seems weird to me. Like there's something about that. So well, it looks like we're getting up on the hour mark here. I usually go 90 minutes, so we got about a half hour left. Um, Today, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give away three. I just found these. Well, actually, my my home health care worker found these. She was cleaning out this thing that I keep my files and stuff in, and stumbled upon some Murder Metal Mayhem stickers. I thought these were all gone. These are really cool. They're die cut. Perfect for the back window. Perfect for the back window, wouldn't you say? Go pick the kids up at school. Got Murder Metal Mayhem going on the back. But I'll give three of these away, and then I'll give away one of the CDs, and the CD will come with a sticker. So on the website, I typically give a sticker away with every order that people would place, and you can buy the stickers on there too. But I'm getting down to the bottom. I have to get some merch going here. The original shirts, I'm down to only a couple left. And the zombie shirts, I've got quite a few of those yet. Those are amazing. Those zombie front with the Murder Metal Mayhem on the back. Really, really well done. The quality is fantastic. The colors are really vibrant. More color on a shirt I've ever seen. Really, really cool. Artwork by Jeff Gaither, who's a very world renowned artist out there. But yeah, Hunter with the knife, definitely concerning. I definitely have you know, my thoughts about that. All right, let's see here. Who's that here? This is a good one. It's never been confirmed, or Transport to Terror. I'm sorry, Transport to Terror. It's never been confirmed if Xana's bedroom door was open or closed and locked. It might have been used the knife to open the door. Yeah, when I did building inspections, like apartment buildings before they tore them down, I used to just use a flathead screwdriver and just about every time could get past the deadbolt within seconds. I mean, just jam it in, twist or push on it, and then the door's usually kind of half in and half out, and a quick kick, and that's how we used to get in. It was amazing how fast we used to get in those, and I have had a couple of physical altercations go on building inspections when you're kicking people's doors in. But these were people that shouldn't be there. These were apartment buildings and houses and commercial buildings as well, where people were, like uh, just living there because it was a vacant building. And I wasn't trying to kick any homeless people out of their place where they're hiding out or whatever, but the building owner's trying to get it torn down. If these people got to move on, unfortunately, so it's a problem, but not for a Murder Metal Mayhem chat. So we'll move on. Let's see. But yeah, good question. Never heard anything definitive about the door. What about Xana's dad? I've heard differing opinions about, was he there to fix the door of the house? Was he there to fix the door of her room? We haven't heard of any of these doors being locked to where somebody would have had to break in. What about Maddie's room upstairs? Was the door open, closed, locked? Don't know. Certainly, if somebody's going to be punching I mean, you could do it quietly with like a butter knife. In a residential, you could usually get a butter knife through there. And if you're quiet and you twist the handle at the same time, you can open the door fairly quiet, but you're still going to make a little noise. Um, oh, this is nice, Donna. Gifted one Murder Metal Mayhem membership. Thank you, Donna. That's nice of you. That's nice of you to do. Appreciate you guys that do that, because that gets other people involved, and people want to see, what Murder Metal Mayhem memberships are about. We got the one tier, the main tier, the Horns High Club for $1.99 a month. And then we've got for $2.99, we've got the Mayhem Squad. And so we appreciate that, those of you that are members. And you can do that right from the main uh, channel page. Here we go. Carl Thomas. Good to see you, my friend Carl. Ethan's siblings' activities, locations, and messages sent and received from Betty's Hall to 911 of utmost importance. Which Chapin sibling parked the black Ford SUV outside the King Road house, and why? I know you've brought up the vehicles with the Chapins before, Carl. I'm not real up on what the deal is with that. So that may be one you might have to school me on, because I'm not real familiar with the siblings. However, I was really a little put off with that Night in Idaho series they did, because they're on there quite a bit. Um, and just kind of the Chapins, there's something weird with the Chapins. Like, they just seem like they're almost like a manufactured, like the monkeys, like a manufactured family. It just doesn't something seems fake there to me. Like, I'm not sure what it is. I know that's out there, and I have no basis for this other than just the vibe I get with them. But they seems something is off, but it certainly is weird to send your kids back there. I mean, I get that they gave them a free ride and all this stuff, but to go back to a school where that happened, and especially, Hunter Chapin says, his room at Sigma Chi overlooked the house. You mean to tell me they wouldn't have put him on the other side of that house so you didn't have to look at that every day, getting up and looking at the house? That seems to me, and especially as sick as we've heard of these frat boys and these fraternities operate, I wouldn't be surprised if they put him in that room on purpose to remind him about what happened over there in that house, and to remind him why he needs to keep his damn mouth shut about what happened over at that house. That's dark, but I don't know. I don't know. I got my concerns. I'm looking at a couple people over here saying exactly. So, but when it comes to the vehicles, Carl, like I said, my friend, you might have to school me on that. You could email me and let me know a little more. I'd love to do a dig on that and do a video on it. With your of course, with accolades for Carl, because I do really enjoy the way you think, my friend. I do. There's a few of people on here send me these really good, thought provoking. Fred Claus is another individual that's really great with just very insightful stuff. I mean, all you guys do great stuff, but just some just really over the top with the detail stuff. Yeah, here's an interesting one from Sipanon. I think the school is more of a training center for the elite's children. That's kind of what it seems like. Like in the Kingsman, if they don't go back, they're out of the Intel program. Yeah, it does seem like some sort of weird training because all these, I mean, you would think if you were to do some of the stuff that they make these people do in the frats, in these hazing type rituals, when they do that, that's some sick stuff. And you would want to send your son to that or your daughter to a sorority. I don't know. I know not all of them are like this, but I'm just saying, just there's a reason why a lot of them are banned on campuses because of some of the stuff they do, the drinking to excess. I mean, we've all been there. I mean, my God, played in heavy metal bands for, you know, almost 30 years. You want to tell me I don't know anything about excessive drinking and seeing all sorts of debauchery going on around me? But this is just over that beyond even what I saw, and it's just like I don't understand like to what point, what's the point at that? That's why half of them graduate with an addiction. That's messed up. That's a messed up statistic to send your son to a 4-year school to get an education, comes back with a some sort of narcotic or alcohol or both addiction because of what he was doing, at the frat house. That's just I don't get it. I don't get it. Yeah, here's Charloquin says I wouldn't send my kids back there. I wouldn't. I'd send them anywhere but there. I would send them anywhere but there because that's just messed up. Yeah, and then there are kids who are going to have to testify, and now they just can get on with their lives. So yeah, you get these college kids. They're not really kids, but we call them kids because we're older. But college kids, adults. These are adults that were supposed to testify on what happened, or what they did or didn't do, but yet now they're able to just walk between the raindrops for the rest of their lives, and nothing to see here, nothing, no, they'll let this thing blow over. You could easily change your name nowadays. I mean, this wouldn't be that hard to do, and just kind of evaporate into the nothingness, I guess. But it doesn't seem right. And I know we wanted to see the real stuff. We wanted to see Dylan up there crying on the witness stand because Ann Taylor's just tearing her a new one. But we don't get to see that. We weren't even going to get to see it if they had a trial, because Hitler was going to keep her, like in one of those things they put you in when you tell the priest your sins. One of those little things where you wouldn't get to see her, you just get to hear her. And then she would just go back to Boise or whatever the hell she was doing before. But it doesn't seem right. Yeah, here's a good point. This is kind of what I was saying. Isles of Shoals. Most college kids party to some extent, but these were nuclear. I mean, yeah, like way, way over the top. I know back playing in the bands, you'd get a young band playing, on a show, and they were real excited about playing with some of the other bands, and so they'd just go like crazy, and they'd get really drunk and do some really stupid things, and we'd all pick on them about it. And then they knew, you'd learn, like, okay, like I don't need to go to that height or low to fit in. I can just be myself and have a few and laugh and have a good time. But unfortunately, people just don't want to be like that. But I agree. Let's see here. Um, Yeah, here DW says everything regarding them will never be unsealed. I'm sure he or she's talking about Dylan and Bethany. I would agree. Probably not going to see much. But my new theory does involve both of them to some degree, um, with a potential idea. And I'm going to unveil it in a video. Um, my next video is going to be a uh, Rex Heuermann. Well, talking about the police corruption and the Long Island serial killer involving the chief of police. I mean, we're talking about this guy getting arrested, going to jail, beating somebody up in jail that involved with his case. Like, this is so over the top that even the Moscow PD looks good compared to this. And that'll be the next video I do on Long Island serial killers. So if you're like, I'm so sick of hearing about Long Island serial killer, just watch the video and give it a chance. Now, the one I did the other day, the primer, was meant as a video to watch if you're not familiar with the case or it's been a while, to just kind of get you up to speed. Just talking about some facts so you don't feel like you're overwhelmed with all this new stuff, and you get just the basics. And then this way, when I start doing more videos, you can get more involved. But I guarantee you're going to like the case because it's very fascinating, and it's different than Idaho 4, but there are some similarities. So, but the police corruption definitely won. And I know Donna Lembo said, that she really liked the primer because it kind of gave her some basics, to move forward with, which is exactly what I was shooting for there. So that's good to hear. Let's see. So, anything else regarding Idaho 4? We got about 15 minutes. Anything else that anybody wants to chime in with? Definitely let me know. Um, Yeah, somebody mentions here. Turquoise says, "I want to see reform at these colleges and no hazing um, throughout the clubs. so to say, go to school for your education and live like every other poor person. Yeah, I mean, most college kids don't have a pot to piss in because their parents, hawked everything to get them there. And they're not these rich elites, but this is different. These are well to do people. I mean, I did quite a bit of research in some of these different people, and every one of them comes from backgrounds of money. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing to have money. What I'm saying is when you've got a kid in college that's acting like a fool because mom and dad have money, that's a different story. That's a kid that's not going to learn a lesson. That's a kid that's going to grow up to be a jackass and perpetuate the whole thing. So rather than act like that, make them work, make them earn their keep. And then when they graduate, then they move on. But all too often, you get these very overly wealthy families that just crank out one brat after another and with no real skills. Put them through, get them an education. And I know some of these kids did, but some of them you wonder how they did and would they have without that financial help and the power, that the family name maybe kept him getting kicked out of school, like Showalter, some of the antics he's been accused of, allegedly putting coyotes on the doorsteps of the other fraternities and all that kind of wacky stuff. A lot of colleges would have thrown that guy the hell out. I mean, and justifiably so, but he was managed to stay there. How is that? Did he stay there? That's the thing too. We heard about all these people fleeing to, different countries, people going to Spain and people going all over the place. How much of that was BS and how much of that was true? It was almost like they had a machine just cranking out all this false information to feed all the chat rooms and people like us talking about it and coming up with these wild theories that were just nothing but wild theories. All right, let's see here. Yeah, Donna Lembo reminds us to hit that like button. If you're not a subscriber, please do. I'm approaching 15,000, so I'd love to see that milestone met here before too long. So always nice to see some subscribers. So why don't we do a little giveaway here? I'm trying to think of a good trivia question for you, or some kind of question for you. All right, let me think. Okay, I got an easy one for you. All right. Let me share a screen with you. I don't normally do this. I used to do this all the time when I taught training classes for work. Used Zoom all the time. StreamYard is very similar to Zoom, but I'm going to share this screen with you. So this is the murdermetalmayhem.com. If you click on merch up here at the top, this is what you see. This is the CD I was telling you about. The painting or the artwork was done by Joey Cashman. Joey is one of the hosts of the Murder Metal Mayhem podcast. Like I keep stressing the podcast because it's definitely different than the YouTube channel. Hysterical, Distasteful, and Stupid is the name we came up with. And you just you can get it here. This is my main store for the books. And then also right here, Hysterical, Distasteful, and Stupid, Volume 1, $6.66. Go figure. And then you can get it for that, it's a download. Yeah, I don't even sell them by CD here. That's right. So this is if you're going to download it, you get a zip file with the whole thing in there. and it's just $6.66, and you get it instantly, so you don't have to wait or anything. You get it right away. This is that T-shirt I was telling you about, the zombie shirt. This has got me. Um, it's got the four of us. This originally was me and Chris. Then we added Joey, and then we added CK, and then we added Joey. And CK was battling cancer, and he lasted 9 years fighting it until he finally succumbed to it in 2021. And this was done right before his passing. And then once he passed, it was like, wow, what a cool way to immortalize him, to put him on the shirt with us. So, and this is an art piece done by Jeff Gaither. And then the back of the shirt is the logo on the back, the same as the sticker. So anyway, that's what that's about. But if you're interested in that, you can buy it that way. And now we're going to do a little trivia to see who's going to win this CD. So here's the deal. Got to be in the U.S. because the shipping is just out of control outside the U.S. So for the CD, the physical CD. Now, if you don't listen to CDs, you don't have a CD player, then don't answer it, because I'd rather this go to somebody that's actually going to listen to it on the CD. If you want the digital version, you could get the digital version. All right. All right. Let's see here. The question. So I'm going to give you 1 minute to answer the question, and you'll just chat on the side. So if you're watching this on the replay, you can't do this. It's already passed. And then I will, at the minute mark, I will then pick a winner with a random number generator. So depending on how many of you get it right. Okay? So simple. What was the name, or what is the name of the car manufacturer that makes the Elantra? What is the name of the car manufacturer that makes the Elantra? And that's pretty simple for anybody that follows this case. So go ahead and put your guess over there in the chat room, and we'll see how we make out here. I'll give you a minute. I like doing easy questions because there's no sense of trying to stump everybody. I'd rather as many people enter as possible. That would be my preference. What is the name of the car manufacturer that makes the Elantra? Or made the Elantra that Brian Koberger was driving around in? Personally, I don't think the Elantra has much of anything to do with this case, other than the fact that the defense was, or the prosecution was, obsessed with it, and that's what boxed them into their stupid 15-minute time frame. That's another thing I think they could have easily put. They could have easily put, um, reasonable doubt in people's minds with that alone. Okay, we're coming up on a minute here. Minute takes a long time. That's why, they say, well, if it was 15 minutes, think about just sitting there for 15 minutes, in your chair looking at a clock. I mean, that seems like it would take an eternity, and it does. But I'm talking physically able to do that. 4 different people, and then to end it with Ethan Chapin. Are you kidding me? I mean, that would have been the first one you'd take out, you know? Yeah, Carl's comment, too bad he didn't have a 64 Ford Mustang. Yeah. Yeah, something cooler than that, right? Something cooler than the Elantra. All right. So there we go. There's a minute. So let me do my counting here to see how many people got it right. it was Hyundai. Uh, all right, I come up with the winner is Charlotte Quinn. So there you go, Charlotte Quinn. You win the Murder Metal Mayhem CD, Hysterical, Distasteful, and Stupid. It is pretty brash, pretty rough on the language. So just a heads up. Be careful where you listen to that. And you want to email me at Pete at murdermetalmayhem.com, and I'll give you, or give me your snail mail, and I'll get that out to you this week. I have had a few people that had ordered some things that waited a little bit longer. I apologize. I'm going to be giving you some free stickers. So for the free stickers, let's say I'm going to pick 3 more from that group that won the free sticker. So if you won the free sticker, then email me at Pete at murdermetalmayhem.com and tell me you won the sticker with your snail mail, and then I'll send you one. Okay. Maybe We Ain't Us won. You won the sticker, so email me, Pete at murdermetalmayhem.com. Sipanon also won the sticker. And Turquoise also won the sticker. So very cool. So you got I'll do more of the sticker giveaways too as we do more of these, because I love giving stuff away. I love doing merch giveaways and stuff. To me, it's fun, and I like to do that kind of thing. So just a girl said she liked the live. I appreciate that. Um, Sipping on says I won something. Yeah, exactly. You did. So you got a free Murder Metal Mayhem die cut sticker. They're really nice, really good quality, out of a place out of New Jersey that I ordered it from. All right. Well, with that, we've got a big week this week with the sentencing hearing. Should be interesting, and see that there's a lot of there's still something left in this story, I think, but it seems like there should be more, right? But I don't know if we'll ever see that. But again, appreciate anybody that did any super chats or any of that stuff. Free Donna did the free membership, which is cool. So you guys have a good rest of your weekend, and I'll see you around next time.